So you're feeling spiritually blocked. In this video, I'm going to share with you what is really stopping you and what you can do to fix it. And I'm going to give you practical, simple, provable actions that you can take which will get rid of your experience of being blocked and allow you to have a very powerful spiritual experience with yourself, connection with the universe, feeling of fulfillment, and most importantly, the ability to grow and to heal and to help others do the same. All right, so welcome back to the Michael Denney YouTube channel. If you are new to the channel, disclosure is coming, open contact is here. I have been helping people do this very thing that we're talking about for the last 40 years of my life here on this particular earth journey. So this is something that I think is probably one of the biggest issues people have, is the feeling that they have that they're blocked. I have felt that. I haven't felt that in a long time, but I have felt that. And I can remember back when I was much younger, especially in my 20s, feeling like, God wasn't with me, that I wasn't connected, and that there was something wrong with me. And unfortunately, we live in a society that has trained us to believe that being spiritual or being spiritually connected has a bunch of certain meanings which just aren't true. Plus the understanding that spiritual connection is like something that has to come to you, and you have to do or be the right person in order for this connection to come to you. The idea that God is going to reach out to you and touch you. And the truth is that most of us, a lot of the time, some people all the time, feel that they're just completely disconnected, and they're wandering around in this empty matrix, and they don't feel connected to anything. And some of you may have had that connection, but you struggle with wondering how you can find just a simple, proven formula that will keep you in that state of being connected. So we are going to talk about that today. So just bear in mind, the links here are going to be very important, and especially we've got some new stuff I'm providing here. We have interdimensional mentorship, which is where you and I get together and light beings will tell us both what you need the most in order to have this strong connection. We've also got channeled personal guidance sessions, which I've been having tremendous success with. And then we also have the ET channeling and interdimensional communication Zoom workshop. All of these things can be found at thunderwizard.com. Look around, you'll find it. And anyway, we'll get back into that. These things have been very, very helpful. And for me, they've just been amazing. So my whole mentoring has blossomed into this whole other reality that I didn't know existed. It's gotten very dynamic and amazing, and I'd love to share it with you. And I'll tell you how to do that before the end of this video. So, becoming spiritually unblocked. So the first thing I want to tell you is that feelings do not block you. So the title of this, Feeling Spiritually Blocked. So there's a phrase that's used in 12-step work a lot, which is feelings aren't facts. It's a fact that you have a feeling, but just because you have a feeling doesn't mean that it's true. You feel neglected, you feel rejected, you feel alone. I can tell you categorically, you are never, ever alone. There are so many beings, spiritually powerful beings. If you want to believe in, if you want to use the word God, I can guarantee you that you are never alone, ever. And that you are seen and you are known and you are loved. Now, it's one thing for me to say it. It's another thing for you to experience that and know it. And I would like to be able to help you do that. And this is what we're going to try and do in this video. So feeling something doesn't mean it's true. And so just get used to the idea that your feelings, depending on who you are, maybe all of them, are completely, totally misleading you in terms of what reality is and what's going on. So first off, the feeling of being spiritually blocked. First, I want to ask you, what does that mean to you? Because if I say to you, somebody who has this, and I say to you, you are loved, God is with you, God is inside of you, the Spirit is inside of you, the light beings are around you, angels are around you. I could say that and you might intellectually agree with me, but that's not going to change how you feel, right? Listen, I know. I have these same feelings on a daily basis. So you're not talking to somebody that never has these feelings, feeling spiritually blocked. But I know now that feelings don't necessarily give me an accurate understanding of what is actually going on. So get over that. The one thing that people ask me, I would say the single most common question that I get asked by students is, how do I get over my feeling of fill in the blank? How do I get over my fears? How do I get over my confusion? How do I get over fill in the blank? I mean, if you got a feeling right now, the feeling of being spiritually unblocked, the feeling of being spiritually blocked, you could ask me, how do I get over that feeling? So here's the mistake in those kinds of questions. First off, I understand wanting to feel good. I want to feel good. I want to feel happy. I don't want to be in pain. I don't want to be frightened either. So that's a worthwhile thing. I'm not trying to say that you're going to live the rest of your life miserable. But the assumption is that if you can change the feeling, the reality will change. And for instance, let's say somebody has a fear of starting a business. They want to start who knows, whatever they want to do. They want to start a business, let's say. And so they feel afraid. They feel, in fact, I run into this all the time with people who do want to start businesses. They'll say, I don't feel like I have enough knowledge. I don't feel that I'm good at what I'm doing. I don't feel like people are going to want. I am afraid. I think I'm going to fail. They have all these feelings. And so they'll do things like, I need to spend more time in school because I don't feel. And listen, I've been teaching and mentoring for decades. And I'm here to tell you that doesn't feed into it. There are times when I show up for live streams, that I show up for readings, that I show up for sessions, and I feel like, oh my God, I have nothing to say to this person. I don't know what I'm doing. And of course, everything turns out just fine. Once they ask me a question, I've got all these opinions and I'm off and running, and before you know it, I've forgotten that I had that fear. But the one thing I learned not to do is let my feelings stop me from taking action. So the question of how do I get over my fear, the assumption is if you can change your feeling, you'll be able to take actions. And I'm here to tell you that your ability to take actions has nothing to do with what you're feeling. People, if they are feeling good, like somebody slams down a couple of whiskeys or whatever, their liquid courage, it's called that, because it it makes you feel comfortable, and then you're able to take action. And so they have this experience that I am comfortable and I can take actions when I'm comfortable, but it's completely unnecessary. You can take action regardless of how you feel. And that's important to know. So the idea of being blocked because of a feeling is nonsense. Feelings can't block you. They can't. You can choose to not take action because of a feeling. And you can say, my fear stopped me. So how do I get over my fear? Well, here's something. How do you know that the fear didn't erupt in you because you chose not to take action? Choosing not to take action is going to create a feeling response within you. So if you can get over that idea, I mean, it's just kind of like growing up. This is little kids. We say this to little kids all the time. It's okay. You can do it. I'm afraid of diving in the pool or jumping in the water or looking under the bed or whatever, sleeping in the dark. And we say to them all the time, it's okay, you can do it. What we're saying is that feeling won't stop you. You can still do it even though you feel afraid. So become aware of how much you're not doing in life because you have a feeling. And get over that idea. The good news is there are things you can do to change your feelings, but again, the assumption is I have to change my feeling first, then I'll be able to take action. And it's the other way around. You take action, that's going to change the feelings. Sometimes. So stop trying to change your feelings. This is a lie. I'm here to tell you this is one of the most brilliant, if not the most brilliant lie that has been given to human beings. The idea that you have to have a certain feeling. This is rampant in spiritual circles. Rampant. And it doesn't matter what spiritual circle it is. When I was a kid, I was in, a Christian church, and, if you didn't feel God's presence, you weren't spiritual. And so people would walk around pretending that they felt God. They had faith. I can remember sitting in church, and the preacher would be giving a lesson on, faith can move mountains. And there's that one verse in the New Testament where supposedly Jesus said, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed and you say to that mountain, move, it'll move. And then the preacher would do the guilt trip, and he would say, do you have faith? Do you believe that you can move that mountain? And of course, every single person in the church, if they're honest, is in their mind saying, no, I don't believe I can move a mountain. So it makes you feel like, if you don't have that feeling, and faith is a feeling, if you don't have that belief, then you're not spiritual. In the New Age community, it's if you're not running around with love and light all the time, if you have any negativity within you, and people virtue signal all the time trying to show how much light and love that they have, and they put on this face. I can remember going to church as a kid, and there'd be people out front, and they had this look on their face. Hi, praise God. Isn't it wonderful? Isn't God a good God? You can see in their eyes that they're just filled with pain and fear, but you got to look good. So get over that. If you've watched my channel, I go out of my way not to look good, and I do it on purpose. Just stop trying to change how you feel. It's got nothing to do with what you're about to accomplish. So here's the thing. You only have control over your choices. Now, you've been lied to. You've been told that if you have a certain feeling, If you have fear, for example, you won't be able to do brave things. I say it, I've said it a billion times. My Norse ancestors, they had a way that they lived their life, and it was in the phrase, "Those who die in battle go to Valhalla." Nowhere in that does it address anybody's feelings. But the reason why the Vikings were so successful, I mean, there was a period of time where the Vikings were taking over the whole world. And I'll tell you, the only reason that stopped is because they converted and became Christians, where they then had to have faith. And if they didn't have faith, then they weren't. But before that, their value came from their ability to take actions on what they wanted. And that's, the whole Viking thing. They saw land they wanted, they went and got it. They went and took it. Now, I'm not saying it's okay to go and invade and thieve, but the assumption that they lived their life from was completely different. And it wasn't the Vikings, it was a lot of people. But the assumption they had was that if you take action towards what you want, regardless of how you feel, even if you feel you might lose your life, if you take action on it, you will achieve everything. Because what is Valhalla? That's where Odin lives. That's where the gods live. You will become a god. And they lived their life like that. And we don't have that. We now have a society that is run by a very small group of very powerful people who want you to believe that your feelings are what give you the ability to take action. And then all they have to do is create a feeling in you. And then you'll do the rest. They have to just throw a little bit of fear at you, or a little bit of insecurity, or a little bit of greed at you, or whatever it is. They just have to throw a little bit, and then you will have a feeling, and the next thing you know, you're virtue signaling, trying to show everybody that you don't have that feeling, but you can't take action because you believe, since you have a negative feeling, you won't be able to take an action. So stop trying to change your feelings. Your feelings are just simply nervous system reactions to life. That's it. They don't mean anything other than that. All right, so you only have control over your choices. You have power to choose your actions. This is what I've been saying. You've been led to believe that you don't have power to choose your actions because your feelings are stopping you. Now, this is important because there's another thing here which we're going to get into later, which is we live in a society now where people have been so deeply damaged, devalued, destroyed internally that they have a lot of perceived emotional and psychological issues. And I mean, just, if you watch television, every other commercial is some drug you're supposed to take, which is supposed to help you get your feelings together. And, so the idea that you have control over your choices is probably the most powerful belief that you can have. Because you're powerless over everything, except for two things. So you only have two choices that you need to make. The first one is the choice over what you focus on. Now, again, in the spiritual community, there's a lot of, has been, for years. I don't know if it's still popular, but I'm sure there are still people that talk about it. But the law of attraction. The law of attraction sounds good. If there are isolated phrases in it that I would agree with, but the entire belief is incredibly devaluing. And it does the same thing that, the Christian guy did, the preacher, when he would say, "Do you have faith? Do you have faith?" Because the answer to that question is, no, I don't think so. That's the answer. It's a feeling. Do you feel like you can move mountains with your mind? And of course, people are going to feel that they can't. And then that creates a feeling. So the law of attraction would tell you that if you want to be rich, then you have to have the feeling that comes with being rich. Now, the assumption is that money, again, the law of attraction, they call it spiritual, but let's be honest, the vast majority of people in the law of attraction are focused on how to get money and how to get laid, right? Those are the two things, how to get money and how to get laid. Maybe health is third. So, we could debate on how spiritual the whole idea is, but the belief that you have to generate a feeling within you, and then that feeling is going to attract that thing to you, that puts you in a state where you have to have a certain feeling. And the fact of the matter is that most people, if they're going to the law of attraction, they don't feel wealthy, they don't feel lucky, they're full of pain and fear and feelings of insecurity and all of that. So all of those feelings are there. And again, they go to the law of attraction because they think if I can change my feelings, then I'll get what I want. And that's why, by the way, it's so popular, because people say, if you can get this good feeling, you'll get all this good stuff. It'll be attracted to you. Well, I'm here to tell you that here's the bad news is that that's just not true. Here's the good news is, it's just not true. You don't have to change a feeling. If you're listening to me and you are incredibly depressed and you feel as though you're the least lucky person and you feel that everything is coming down around you and you can't see a way out and you're full of all these horrible feelings, I'm here to give you the good news is that those feelings don't mean anything other than making you feel bad. They don't mean anything in terms of your ability to get what you truly want. So it's just like having a noisy neighbor. Sometimes you just got to let the neighbor have a party. You can't do anything about it. You don't like it, but you don't have any control over it. So you don't have any control over your feelings. You have control over what you focus on. Now, I'm saying that very clearly because some people will say you have to control your thoughts, which is nonsense. Thoughts, like feelings, are things that arise within you. What you focus on is what you have control over. Now, what people don't realize is that they have a negative feeling. Creates a fear. They're afraid they're going to be alone for the rest of their lives. You focus on that thought, and then the next thing you know, you're engulfed in this fear of getting old and being alone, and before you know it, that completely, totally absorbs you. Well, you don't have any control over those feelings that you're having now. You didn't have control over the feeling popping up in your head. You didn't have any control over the thought that came into your head. People call it intrusive thoughts. You don't have any control over that. It doesn't mean that you can't change it. You can change those things. But in that moment, you don't really have any control over that. But what you do have control over is what you choose to focus on. This is where positive affirmations do come in. Now, positive affirmations by themselves don't create anything, but they give you the ability to focus. Because when you verbalize something, your mind has to create the words, so you're focused on it. So I'll do that. I'll wake up and I'll go, and sometimes I wake up and I'm in a horrible mood. Not sometimes, most mornings I wake up, I'm in a horrible state of mind. And I will go, I can look outside and I can see the palm trees and I can go, wow, this is such a beautiful place to live. Now, I'm not feeling that. If I'm listening to myself, my brain will come up with a whole list of reasons about why it's a horrible place to live, even though I've chosen to live here. So what I do is I focus on things that I know that I can eventually awaken to. So I'll say to myself, this is a really beautiful place to live. I am so lucky to live here. Wow, there are people that wish they had my problems. You know that there are so many people that wish they could have the exact life that I have. And then I move on to other things. Oh my gosh, I'm in such incredible good health. This is a true story. I was at the beach just yesterday, and some kid, he was huge. He was like 6 feet, 6'6", and he walked up to me. And he said, I didn't know him, and he just walked up to me and he said, "Sir, I have to tell you, you are effing jacked." It was such a nice thing to say. Well, I could live off that. Negative feelings come up and I go, I am effing jacked. That 20-something-year-old kid just told me I was. So what I focus on is things that I know that will eventually put me into a positive frame of mind. And I have power to choose what I focus on. So that's the first thing that you have the choice over. You have the choice over what you focus on. The second choice you have is the choice over what you do. Now, I broke them up, but the truth is that focusing is an action. So you really only have one choice. You have choice over what you do. Anybody who's ever competed in a sport, you know this. You don't want to go practice that day. Everything in you says, I want to stay home and eat Cheetos. But you do the thing you don't want to do. Now it helps because there's a lot of other people who are going to have opinions about you, and we don't want people to look down on us or think bad about us, and so our ego will force us to go do things we don't want to do. But the truth is, you're just choosing to do something. You're not choosing how you feel. You don't have that ability. Stop trying. But the good news is that you have 100% control over the choices that you make. Those who die in battle go to Valhalla. Those who choose to act, regardless of the real or perceived blocks, those people achieve what they want and they become successful and happy. So you only have two choices that you have control over, and that is what you focus on and what you do. You have no control over anything else, so just get used to it. Just wake up. Whatever's bothering you, your money, your job, your relationship, I don't have any control over any of those things. I have control over what I do. I'll tell you, if you can master this, it will give you everything. I only have control over what I focus on and what I do. Now, the good news is if you learn how to do that, you'll start taking actions that are completely contrary to all of your impulses, to all of your feelings, to all of your intrusive thoughts, contrary to other people's opinions and other people's bad advice. If you take action based on your conscious awareness of knowing what is best for you and best for others, regardless of the impulses that are telling you that if you take that action you'll die, and you do it anyway, your feelings will begin to change. That's how you change your feelings. You want to know how can I get over my feelings? Think of the one thing that you're most afraid of doing and do it every single day. That'll change your feelings. So what should you do? Find a teacher and follow directions. If you wanted to become an Olympic fencing gold medalist, you'd find a teacher and you would take directions. You want to become MMA champion, you're going to find an MMA teacher and you're going to do all the stuff that they tell you how to do. Why? Because they've proven to you that they can do it. When it comes to spirituality, people do this, they play it fast and loose. And you can always tell the narcissist who spiritualizes their narcissism, because they'll say, I don't need a teacher, I'm directly connected to the universe and I don't do, and it sounds good on paper. But the truth of the matter is that this is why you go to a teacher. This is why you go to a guru. This is why you go to spiritual teachers, is because if they have anything of value, it means that they've accomplished what you're looking to accomplish. And so you have to follow direction if you want what they have. If you want what I have, you got to do what I did. It's that simple. It's very, very unknown these days, but back in the day, if you went into whether it was a yogi in India or if it was a Taoist martial artists, dojo or whatever they call it, studio, and you walked in, and if you did anything other than sit down and simply keep your mouth shut, if you said, I want to learn what that guy across the street is doing, or tell me your thoughts on, if you talked like that, they would just simply bow to you and say, thank you, there's the door. Why? It's not about ego. It's because a teacher is constantly looking for somebody that they can successfully teach. And the people who are able to be taught are the people who are willing to take all of their thoughts and their questions and put them aside. As this used to be said a long time, empty your cup. Empty your cup. You would just take all the things you thought you knew, you'd put them aside, and you would simply show up, keep your mouth shut, and trust that the teacher knew what you needed most. And if he doesn't know, he'll ask you a question to find out. And then they test to see if you will follow directions. We live in a world that people don't know how to do that. We live in a world where, at this stage of the game, there are people listening to me who have never lived without the internet, without cell phones, without YouTube. There are people listening to me that they've never lived in a world without these things. And I'm now that guy. I sound like that old guy. I remember when we wanted to go learn something, we actually had to get on a bus and go to a library and ask where the book is and pull the book out and read it. Or we had to go to somebody's, their studio, and we had to walk in, we had to ask, can you teach me this? And then we would have to listen and take direction. And people learned. People today, they view teachers as a commodity to control. I run into this all the time. Students will ask me things like, so what am I going to get if I'm your... I'm like, I don't know. Let's find out. So it's important to find a teacher and to take direction. I'm here to tell you, I've been working with people a long time. And I've said this as long as I've been teaching, and it's one of the most true things I've ever said. And if you want to learn how to be spiritually unblocked, if you want to learn how to get over your negative feelings, if you want to learn how to take actions, if you want to be all those things that you say you want, the most important thing you can do is find somebody who has something that you want. And then go to them and simply follow their directions. The people that have worked with me, who have followed all of the directions that I give them consistently, every single one of them have transformed or are in the process of transforming. Every single student that has not followed my directions or has chosen to stop following my directions have all fallen backwards. Some of them, it's been tragic. So here's the thing, also get rid of the idea of reaching enlightenment. This is another lie, where all of a sudden you're doing it and then boom, you reach a state of enlightenment and now you can coast for the rest of your 3D existence. I've never seen it. Never. I've trained with a lot of people. I've trained with a lot of masters. And I've seen some good masters, and I've seen some just complete Looney Tune. And I've seen masters who were doing really well and then turned around and they became horrific failures. And it's all because they stopped continuing to learn, stopped continuing to stay transparent with themselves and others, and stopped doing the things that they knew they had to do. Because there will always come a point. So again, that feeling of get over my fears. Well, get over the idea of getting over them. How do I know? Here I am, spiritual teacher, been doing this for 40 years. I haven't gotten over my fears. They're all still here. A lot of them, I don't have the same fears I used to have. I have new ones now. Some of the same old ones keep popping up. But so far, I've learned to continue to take actions based on my conscious awareness of what is best for myself and others. I've been doing it long enough that I have some ability to sniff that out. If you're new at this game, you may not even have the slightest clue what is best for you. In fact, you probably don't. Again, this is why it's important to have teachers. So, what should you do? Find a teacher, follow directions, do daily energy practices, interdimensional meditation. So, find a teacher. Now, my suggestion is that you do daily energy practices. That's the entire thing of what I teach. Thunderwizard.com. If you subscribe to the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong, you're going to have access to videos that will teach you all about the energy practices. You can go to the shop, and there are very affordable video teachings that you can learn and just do it over. I go out of my way to make sure that everybody has access to high-level, very valuable energy practices. Do those on a daily basis. It's best if you're working with somebody, but do the energies exercises on a daily basis. Now, things are expanding in our reality, and so I add to that the IDM, which is interdimensional meditation. You should know what that is if you're following my channel. If you're not, we do live guided interdimensional meditations every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And those meditations will take you to places outside of our third dimensional space-time reality. It'll take you out of the matrix. And the more that you can do that, the more that you can connect to those other realms, the more power you will have to shift. We are going through a tremendous shift right now. So this ability to take continuous, focused, contrary actions, contrary to your impulses, your ability to do that is what's going to save you. So if there's one thing, we can boil it down to one thing. That is, take continuous contrary actions. Take actions that are directly in opposition to your impulses, your addictions, your fears, and just get used to taking actions that are challenging and not easy to do. Good news is it doesn't matter whether it's hard or easy. You just choose to do it. If you can do that, you'll make the shift. The people who aren't going to make the shift are people who will refuse to continue to take contrary action. They'll come up with, they might have done really well for years, and then they'll come up with an excuse. They'll have a feeling that they feel is overwhelming. They'll have an impulse that they feel that they can't resist, and the next thing you know, they're going backwards. It's okay to go backwards. Turn around. Are you making progress today? Today, one day at a time. Are you taking contrary action? All right. Whoops. So I hope that's all helpful for you. So again, we have interdimensional mentorship, where I and you listen to light beings that will tell you, they will mentor you. They'll tell you what you need to do to achieve your highest spiritual destiny. We do the channeled personal guidance interdimensional sessions, which you can go to channel.thunderwizard.com and you can look at those. We're still doing the half price interdimensional channeled guidance from the ETs, and you can check that out. And I have this new ET channeling and interdimensional communication Zoom workshop. That's a subscription at thunderwizard.com. It's not a free subscription. You have to actually look for it in the membership section or the tiers, and you find a specific one. And what we're going to do in that is we are going to workshop this together. So what'll happen is you'll show up and we will all connect to light beings. They might just show up. They do that a lot with me. They just show up before I even start a class or a reading. And then if they tell me something, I'll share that with you. But the idea is for you to start listening to them and practice communicating what you hear. And it's not that unless you want to, you don't have to learn how to channel, but you can practice seeing if you can hear the telepathic message or the vision, and see if you can interpret it. And we will all be there to support each other in this endeavor. So we've got that going on as well. So a lot of good stuff there. Here are all of the links. Don't email me and go, where can I find them? Click on the links and you'll be able to find just about whatever it is that I've got available. All right, that's it, my friends. I love you all. Please be very good to yourselves. And I, of course, shall see you very soon.